teachers of Reddit, what was the worst thing you had to confiscate from a student? Over the course of years, bottle of vodka hidden in the girls' bathroom by 7th graders. How did you know where to look? Everyone who came back from the bathroom was drunk, so you're not as sneaky as you think. Vape, my mom gave it to me for allergies, so I'll just give it back to her then. White eyes? No. Student banging the primers of 23206 shells together in class. Grab, I just wanted to see if they would go off. Napalm. Some kids were into petrol/gas sniffing, but found it hard to transport and keep hidden, so they learned how to make napalm, so they could carry it hidden in their bags. I had to lock down the whole school and get hazmat in to dispose of it. And how did they find out how to make it? They asked one of the science teachers, and he told them. A crossbow, property of a 17-year-old student at the boarding school where I used to work. The same boy was also fond of bringing pheasants to school that he'd killed on his father's estate and plucking them in the shower block. My mum has been a primary teacher for her whole life now in the UK, and the worst incident she had to deal with was with a girl aged 10 who was having issues with a boy essentially bullying her. She told her dad, and her dad's solution was to give her a sawn-off shotgun to intimidate the boy. No one knew it was unloaded, but the hell it raised when a 10-year-old schoolgirl brings out a shotgun certainly put the boy off from ever coming near her again. Not a teacher, but I'm half deaf and my music teacher took my hearing aid and refused to accept that it wasn't an earbud. Then he yelled at me for the rest of the class for not playing in tune. Couldn't exactly tell how well I was playing since I could hear it. My friend is diabetic and has an insulin pump. They had multiple teachers over the years think it's an MP3 player and try to confiscate it before realizing it's attached to their body and they literally can't hand it over a huge black dildo. A child found it in the school's garden and said, I found a ding dong in the garden and I'm taking it home for mum. That day, I was not professional. A note that said, so you gonna give the dick, or what? I teach 12-year-olds. My wife is a teacher, and one of her first graders brought her 2 hard seltzers because her mom said they're good after a long day and she deserved them. Preschool teacher here. I had to convince a 4-year-old that his mom's wedding ring should go into a special box on the front desk instead of on the finger of a 6-year-old girl he had a crush on. Later he brought in his dad's car keys and a bottle opener. A dead squirrel. I taught preschool at the time. Know a teacher, she and her 1st or 2nd grade class, can't remember which, were on lunch. Lunch lady walks up and tells her one of her students just tried to buy an extra something with over $1,000 in cash she had stuffed in a tiny coin pouch that looked like a plushy pink duck. Teacher called the girl's house and the mom was 9.8 into a full-blown 10/10ths panic after looking for it all morning. This was the early 2000s, when it was still normal to pay bills in cash, in person. Apparently they forgot to give the girl her allowance, 50 cents, so she took the paper money instead. Penis-shaped glass pipe with weed still in the bowl/bowl. Mom asked if she would be getting it back, or if the school was keeping it. Not mine, but my fiance's coworker confiscated a makeshift shank from a 3rd grader, roughly 8 years old, made from a popsicle stick and a straw. He said he was going to use it on his animals at home. Best part was, when they told the dad he said, why did you give him supplies to make a shank? I assume he's gonna kill a few people in the future. Worst thing, bullets. From a 1st grader. Had to do a room clear to look for a gun. Best thing, a cat a high school student brought in their backpack, confiscated 3 knives from one kid, but the weirdest thing was a porn video from a 9-year-old girl. She brought it to school to show off to the boys. Took it from her grandfather's stash. Big tit fantasies and anal desire should to read it to the short-sighted 60-year-old vice principal. I was 21, a taser disguised as a torch. So far, a death letter that a severely antisocial student wrote after a minor incident with a peer. The letter told the student to kill themselves, to die already, etc. and depicted bloody, slashed wrists. I truly think the student didn't intend to give the other student the letter because they never talked to anyone, but that was some fucked up shit to see from a kid. The weirdest one was definitely the fish in a vase they found during locker checks. It was in an unassigned locker someone had added a lock to. Inside was a live betta fish in about as large a vase as you can fit in a locker. Fully decorated. Someone had clipped a little book light to the top of the vase presumably, so the fish wasn't in the dark all the time. No one claimed to know whose it was, or how long it had been there, so it lived in the coach's office for at least that year. Not a teacher, but when I was in 2nd grade a kid brought his mom's vibrator to class, cause he thought it was a toy submarine. Obviously we didn't know any better until years later when that same kid told us how embarrassed his mom was to this day. Handcuffs and tear gas from the same student, same lesson. Not a teacher, but a bus driver. I had to confiscate a 5th grader's cell phone a few days ago, specifically because he was showing hardcore porn to 1st graders with it. Lots of phone calls that day. Most dangerous, a knife from an 8th grader. Most annoying, different school than above, but a Wi-Fi jammer and a USB killing device from an 8th grader. Weirdest thing was a papaya named Bob. But when I worked in a bridal shop a kid pulled a dildo out of mom's purse and started pretending it was a rocket ship, complete with noises and running around. Obligatory. Not a teacher, I work with kids who have special needs. One of my kids brought in a ball gag and several of the largest butt plugs I have ever seen. Not a teacher, but my neighbor was a teacher, and we chat regularly, and I asked a very similar question to this. Worst thing, a knife from a girl in 7th grade. She was being bullied and planned on stabbing several other girls in class. Weirdest, a gumball the size of a melon. As in, a huge clump of chewed gum some boy in the 9th grade had been adding to for about a year and kept secret in his locker. Turns out it was a personal project of his, and explained why he was constantly chewing gum, all day, every day. Not a teacher, but my 7th grade homeroom teacher confiscated my private journal and read it. There's nothing more disappointing than losing respect for elders as a child. My stepdad has been an administrator at a middle school for years. Once he had a pretty notorious student come into the office looking for a scooter that had been abandoned/confiscated. He saw it, swore to high heaven it was his. Nobody believed him on reputation. They pulled out the little removable handlebars and found a bag of weed stashed inside. See? That's mine. Never confiscated anything, but when I worked as a kindergarten teacher in China, I'd see kids 4, 5, and 6 years old come in with the wildest shirts and hats. Those ones you see that say things like, I smoke crack and FC cave chairs, I'm not gay, but $20 is $20. Not a teacher, but as a student I had my antidepressants and ad meds confiscated, cause they were doing bag checks. I never got them back, and my parents had to get me a refill, confiscated again until my parents told the principal. Not a teacher, my friend teaches in middle school though, and she once said that a student bought in his dad's flashlight. I guess his friend stole it after he showed it to them, which is gross. Anyway, he needed help getting it back, or some such nonsense. In high school before the internet I had a locker full of porn mags that I would rent out to kids for $1 a night. I didn't know they cut locks off lockers and emptied them over the holidays. I had some tiger claws and nunchucks confiscated. After school care here, had a little boy try to give what I'd clock as a $700,000 to $20,000 diamond ring to a girl he had a crush on. I'm no jeweler, but the rocks in the ring are massive and very real looking, and the mom sobbed when she got it back. A phone full of videos of people eating live animals, puppies, kittens, etc. Massive safeguarding case, he got the help he needed. A journal. It detailed exactly how he was going to kill each of his family members, including his baby sister, with diagrams and steps. It also included how he would hide that he did it, including "I'll burn this book and cry a lot. I'm only 7, how could I do that to my own family?" People are easy to fool. There were a lot of other diagrams and such in there of other people he would kill. It was brutal. He had to be sent away for help as he was considered an immediate threat to just about everyone. He was too young at the time, but they were looking at potential antisocial personality disorder with him. My mother's a first grade teacher. She had to confiscate what a student thought was a rubber bracelet. Turns out it was the base to her mom's BF's broken condom. She picked it out of the trash not knowing what it was and wore it to school. I had a self-programming remote control for the TV. So I'd periodically turn on the TV during class and flip to some channel. Looked just like a garage door opener, so they didn't figure it out for a while until some other kid saw and ratted me out. A student wrote a message about me that he would love to fuck me in the ass, suck my tits, and really specific examples of what he would do to me. He got counseling and had to write me an apology letter. The worst part of it was that he stayed in my class the rest of the year and sat in front to watch me lecture. Other than this, he was a very bright, polite kid with glasses. I even had to hand him his science fair trophy.